Hey everyone, welcome back to The Hunt. Today's episode, we're going to talk a little bit about basics on hunting gear. Going to kind of run through what I own and how I started off, just some general tips and stuff. First thing to remember is don't go too crazy overboard. You can go to any sporting goods store and just spend hundreds and thousands of dollars on hunting stuff, and it's not really necessary. So just buy some basics. First off, you're going to need some camo, and if you're going to firearm hunt, some orange. But we'll kind of go over that. I'll show you what I have, and we'll go from there. Little disclaimer here: I'm not, promoting anybody. I am not brand specific. I have a little bit of everything. So just basically remember, just get what fits for you. You don't have to do what I do. You don't have to do, what they do on the hunting shows and stuff like that. But just go shop around. If you're buying basics, it's okay to go, inexpensive. I'm not saying cheap. Buy something, that's decent. Like I said, my stuff's not, by all means, it's not expensive name brand stuff, but it's what works for me. So go shop around, see what you can afford, and then, go from there. Everything is 100% situational. We'll go over that. So hang tight, and I'll get my gear out. Okay, everyone, so we're going to start here at the beginning with what I wear. This is all 100% situational, depending on if, you're hunting early bow season, which is going to be warmer. You could be talking 80-degree weather versus, November firearm season here in Nebraska is like the second week of November. So it could go either way. It could be warm or cold. Or if you're going to hunt late season muzzleloader or late season antlerless firearm, which could be 0. So, this is, a little disclaimer here. I'm not brand specific. This happens to be everything that works for me, but also I feel you don't have to spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars on, fancy hunting stuff when most of my stuff is, on the, I'm not going to say cheaper end, but more reasonable end. But anyways, so usually, sometimes guys wear their first layer is, and always remember, dress in layers because it's easier to remove as opposed to once you get in the stand and it's warm. It's easier to remove layers than it is to add to after the fact. But anyways, so blue jeans, this is just regular pair of blue jeans. Now when it's cold out, I do have a pair of fleece-lined blue jeans that have came in very handy. Some guys will wear long johns instead or some kind of thermal undergarment, but the fleece-lined worked for me. Otherwise, like this last fall where it was warm out, I just wore blue jeans, and then I always wear camouflage pants over this. Now remember this, you don't have to, here's the thing, you don't have to wear camouflage per se with deer hunting because deer are colorblind. Back in the 50s, 60s, early on, people wore flannel. But if you're hunting firearm, you do have to wear a certain percentage of blaze orange on you. But turkeys, on the other hand, when you're turkey hunting, turkeys aren't colorblind and they can see you very, very well. So, you'll have to wear camouflage with them. So after camouflage pants, then usually I wear a t-shirt followed by long sleeve camouflage shirt, then hoodie. And last fall, it was warm out. It was almost 50 out when I got my deer, and actually I was just wearing blue jeans, camo, I think a t-shirt, and I was wearing just my hoodie. So cold out, heavy jacket, This is a Walls. It's been a darn good jacket. It's going to have to get replaced because the zipper's broke, and the zippers are nobody wants to replace zippers. When it's real cold out, I wear a handkerchief around my neck. Then over that, blaze vest. Then footwear. These are my heavy insulated snow boots, and these are 2 sizes bigger because I usually wear 2 pairs of socks, regular socks, insulated socks, and then that way you're not struggling to, walk, your feet won't hurt, etc. Otherwise, when it's been warm out, I just wear my regular work boots. Going down the line, I usually carry in my backpack a pair of water-resistant pants, just because, situations arise when it does start raining or sleeting or something, and you don't want to sit there in soaked gear. Cold out, stocking cap. Otherwise, I usually wear ball caps. Gloves. I have a glove for about every situation. Heavy snow gloves on down, and I actually have a pair of thin gloves here somewheres. But clothing wise, that's pretty much what I wear. I used to wear bibs. I got a bad shoulder, and it always pulled on it, so I switched back to pants, and those pants are actually 2 sizes larger, so that way I could wear with my insulated pants if I had to, and wear a belt. That's not a big deal. It's not the end of the world. So there's this for clothing. Okay, so here is some more of my gear. Seat cushion. This one I'm not really over fond of. It's too thick. I don't use it that much. My stand has a pretty good cushion on it, but I should take some of the beans out of this one. But get yourself a good cushion, especially if you're going to be sitting on the ground. Backpack, new backpack. I prefer a backpack anymore over a fanny pack, just because the fanny pack kind of gets in your way and you end up taking it off anyways. This is what I used to carry, where it's just a pain. And this is an inexpensive backpack I got off of Amazon. Now, someday if I get into like elk hunting or mule deer hunting or antelope hunting where I'm going to be out walking all day, I actually have a really good backpack picked out with a rifle holder in it. I'm going to spend a little bit more money on that just because I'll be carrying more gear. Here are the game cams I use. It's actually, I'm getting kind of late in the game now. This one, it's a Moultrie. It's that's a good cam. This one I just got. I haven't used it, just for the simple fact that when I ordered it, it said it took a regular SD card, when in fact I got it and I opened it up and it takes a micro SD, so I ended up having to order it. Some micro SD cards. These should have been out probably a month ago already, but every time I've had a chance to go down to my timber, story of my life, it's rained and I can't get in down there, and you know my rules. If it doesn't belong to you, don't tear it up, so I haven't been down there to check anything out. Lights. I always carry at least one good flashlight, and I've gotten in the habit of, I got this, I've had this headlamp for a while, never used it. I can't find the one I usually carry with me, but I have so many headlamps, it's probably at work. I do use them at work too. But I've gotten to really like wearing headlamps, and I actually have one that clips on the end of my bill of my hat too, so when I'm either walking in early or really late, I don't need a lot of light, just a little bit. I've never had to actually track a deer too late into the dark. I've gotten caught, within the last 30 minutes of shooting light, though, of getting a deer and then getting a deer in the dark, so that's no fun either. good flashlight. Here is, I have so many scent bottles around, you know, I'm usually a Tinks guy, but I got that one. Last fall I was just in a rush, so it worked. I mean, I put it out. I usually, when I walk in, I'll tie a rag to my ankle and put some on there as I walk in, and then I'll kind of, as I'm walking in the timber, I'll splash a little bit behind me just to kind of cover my trail, and then I'll put them at the base of my tree, and then I'll also hang a soak from a tree, and that stuff worked because that's the buck I got last fall. He was following that trail in. So calls, I have a lot of calls, but this is what I've used the most. Here's my turkey calls. This is not an endorsement, but I do like Primos. I've had good luck with them. Squawk Box, Slate. For turkey hunting, I do have a diaphragm. I am absolutely horrible at using a diaphragm. A buddy of mine feels the same way. He says you pretty much have to make a diaphragm work, you pretty much got to be choking on it, and I've never gotten a diaphragm to work. So if there's anybody out there that would want to teach, by all means, give me a helpful hint. My game call, my deer call. This is an uproar once again by Primos. It works. It's got a bleat, a grunt, and the snort wheeze on it. I do use it. It works. That's a good call. Here's my knives. So this is one of my bone saws. Use that for splitting pelvises. Just a couple of knives I carry on me. Nothing in particular. It never hurts to have a big knife or a little knife. Actually, I usually carry a fillet knife with me too, but I don't have that with me. My big bone saw, that's what I use for splitting chests. It works. It works in a hurry. So that's nice. And then here's my gut hook. This is the one I usually carry on my hip. It's probably what I do the most with. After you get the abdomen open down to the muscle, then I use this to split the hide the rest of the way open, so that way you don't get into the internal organs and make a bigger mess than what you need. So that stuff there, the majority of that stuff's what I carry in my backpack. Maybe when we get into hunting season this fall a bit more, we could talk about some different scents and stuff, but it's all, once again, it's all personal preference. There's nothing here that's, most of the stuff's relatively inexpensive. You don't have to spend hundreds of dollars on stuff, but this is what works for me. I'm not gonna rant and rave, on what you want to use. What you want to use is what you want to use. This is what works for me. So.
Okay, guys. So that's the gear I use, and like I've said, you don't have to go out to any sporting goods store out there and buy hundreds of dollars worth of name brand, hunting equipment. The stuff I've gotten over the years, and it's, relatively inexpensive, but like I said, works for me, and everything is 100% situational, whether you're big game hunting or upland bird hunting or turkey hunting, This stuff is what I use for turkey and deer hunting. It works for me. If you're pheasant hunting, you're going to want something different. You're going to be walking a lot, so you're not going to want, for the most part, you're not going to want anything insulated. But yeah, that's what works for me. Also, some care tips. You'll see a lot of people using a scent blocker spray. I've never used one. I've never felt the need to use one. Here's what I do with my stuff. When I get it out of storage in the fall, first thing I do is, usually it's mid-October. Leaves are falling off the trees. I will lay everything out on my deck for a day and let it air out. And then I'll rake up a couple bags of leaves and I'll stick all my hunting stuff in there. And by the time November firearm season, which is, mainly what I hunt, everything will have a nice outdoorsy, tree, leafy smell to it. That works for me. And like I said, I've never used a scent blocker spray. earlier in the year, maybe if you're bow hunting and there's no leaves on the ground that you can rake up and do that. I've never ran into that situation, but that's what works for me. Like I said, everything is situational. Everybody has to figure out what works for them. This is what works for me. It's just a helpful hint. So then usually at the end of the season, I will wash everything in a non-scented detergent. It doesn't have to be specific for hunting. I mean, there's laundry detergents out there that are, detergent free for people with sensitive skins. I actually use the stuff we wash our kids' clothes in, so that works for me. And then I put everything in a tote, and it gets tucked away for the year. Oh, make sure your dryer sheet is also non-scented, or if you can, what would be the best is to hang it up outside to dry. But once again, that's all situational, and if it's raining, of course you can't do that. Otherwise, use a non-scented dryer sheet. And then I usually put our stuff in a tote, and it gets packed away. Some people will put them in a airtight bag, or it looks like a zip-up locker case. You don't need that. I mean, you're gonna when fall rolls around, you're gonna want to. You're either gonna use like I said, a scent blocker spray, or do what I do and put it in a bag of leaves. And that's gonna be. That's about the best thing you can do. Get that earthy smell to it. So. And then another thing is, so my game cams, I was talking, you can spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars on game cams. You can buy mine, take SD cards, micro SD cards. And the reason I use those instead of the ones that are connected to a cell phone is because it gives me an excuse to get out to my timber and check things out. Yes, I should have had my cams out a month ago, but one of my rules is if it doesn't belong to you, don't tear it up. The road we share doesn't belong to me. It's shared with 4 other farmers, and I'm not going to be that person that tears up the road and then is not allowed back in there. So I should have had them up by now. It's the 2nd of August. Yeah, there's nothing I can do about it. You can't fight Mother Nature. I also farm too, so I'm not going to turn away the rain. But I'll get them up here in the next couple weeks. I mean, I got more mineral I want to put out there. But we'll get back down there here in the next week, and we'll get it figured out. And then also, here's the other thing is I'm 7 miles away from where I hunt, if that. It doesn't take that long. Actually, I think it's probably more closer to 5. So it takes 10 minutes to run down there, and then a little walk to get back into where I hunt. But that's also a good reason to get out there and scout your timber, check your trails, look for scrapes. It's early yet. We got another month and a half of growing on antlers and stuff. So, it's going to be mid-September before they start, rubbing their velvet off and stuff. Maybe a little longer than that. Depends. Everything, it depends on the year. But, yeah, I'll get those up. My plan is I'll just go out and I'll switch out cards and reset it and then go. Calls, you can spend, like I said, tons of money. I shouldn't say hundreds of dollars, but if you buy more than one call, you can. Depends on what you're calling. But those calls I got, I bought that those turkey calls off of Amazon for like $30, and it came with 3 calls. It's a good beginner set. I wasn't going to spend a ton of money on turkey calls for no more than a turkey hunt. I did use the slate this spring, and I did have a nice sized gobbler coming called in. He didn't get close enough for a shot, but that's a story for another time. And the Uproar, it's another Primos product. I'm not promoting them, but it works for me. That was an inexpensive call. It's an older call. It's probably 8 years old. It does work though. They have come out with updated calls since then, but just get something inexpensive to start with, until you got to get a feel for it, and as far as I'm concerned, an inexpensive call used rightly could call in an animal just as easily as a expensive one. My knives, those knives are all, relatively inexpensive. You don't have to spend a ton of money on knives. Thing is you get a good knife, keep a good edge on it. I'm not good at putting edges on knives. I have friends for that. So, we do a little bartering. They sharpen my knives and I do work for them. So, not a big deal. So, clothes-wise, like I said, don't spend a ton of money on clothes. Get what fits you. It's all situational. Don't go overboard. You're a beginner. It'll be fine. So, I think I've pretty much touched base on everything. If you have any more questions, feel free to ask. I'm not a professional. I'm not an amateur. Semi-pro. I like that. Go ahead and ask. If I don't know, I have more than plenty of connections. We'll get you figured out. So until then, guys, be safe and happy hunting.